Yeah. I like, instead of doing resolutions, I like the idea of, have you heard of the theme, one word theme for your year? Have you heard of that? So instead of doing like a full scale, SMART goals of here's what I'm going to accomplish in the next year, it's you kind of sit with a list of words that are linked to values or themes and see which one most resonates. And then for your year, that's like your new theme. And so then when you make decisions or when you make plans, that word is top of mind. And so if something doesn't align with that word, then you can say no. Or if it does, then it's easier to say yes. And so I really like that because it funnels you and it helps take you in a direction, but it's not so sole focused on, A, B, and C. And if you don't make A, B, and C, then have shame for it.
Hello. My name is Ebrima, Abraham Sisay, and I'm the host of Freedom Project Podcast. And today we want to talk about the year 2024 and then also discuss intentions for 2025. And I'm still trying to wrap my head around how quickly 2024 just flew by. I feel like just back in February, we sat down to record for the first time. And now we're at the end of the year.
Yeah.
I personally have learned a lot, but I want to hear from you. How was your 2024? What's one thing that you've learned from 2024?
Yeah, I think 2024 for me was a year of growth and kind of pushing myself in an area that I've not gone before. And so just kind of trying to expand the reach of Tenfold Counseling and how my voice is a part of that. And it's been kind of scary, but also good.
Right. No, it's funny because I had a conversation with someone else, and then she was like, I haven't heard she was like, I was listening to your podcast and I heard Crystal talk. I was like, you listened to the podcast? I was so excited when she just brought that up, and then she was saying that she likes how the entire conversation during our podcast is basically me just getting free therapy. and I'm always just getting reviewed by you. I was like, oh, I didn't realize that's what's happening. But thank you for listening and for observing. And if you listen, please leave a comment. Now Spotify lets you leave a comment. Just let me know what's something that you've learned from that, from just listening to this conversation in 2024. But yeah, so as far as 2024, you talked about growth and also expanding Tenfold Counseling. Do you mind expounding on that a little bit? When you say growth, what exactly do you mean by that? Is that on an individual level or on the entity, which is Tenfold Counseling?
Yeah, I think, ever since I started Tenfold Counseling, we've slowly had good growth over time, and we've continued to add good team members. And I think for me personally, growth in what can this look like? Can I go beyond just a Kansas City local audience? And what does that look like? And how do we just even add credibility to the brand overall? Right. And so that whether you're in Kansas City or not, if you've heard of us, that there's good feedback and good quality behind that, because that truly matters to us. And so that's kind of what I meant as it relates to the growth.
Gotcha. No, I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like there's such a huge, shortage for mental health professionals in general. And one of the reasons why I even did this, and which I will talk about maybe in a couple of weeks, is doing a rebrand. Because most of our listeners now are usually therapists, and our audience actually grew as far as age wise. It used to be young adults, and all the way down to kids in the 15, 16. But over time, especially 2024, I noticed that it's slowly graduate to 30s. Maybe now I'm 32. So my audience also growing up with me. But even back to the friend that I mentioned, she's in her mid 50s, but she shared that she actually has a conversation with her friends about what we talked about. And I'm just this is insane.
That's awesome.
I'm just also please talk to Tenfold Counseling. They have a lot of therapists. and speaking of that, how many therapists do you currently have within your company?
Yeah, there's 8, and then plus me 9.
And who's your favorite?
Oh, yeah. They're so good. I don't have a favorite. I think you asked me that in the beginning. I was
know,
like,
right?
I'm not falling for that.
Full circle. She is still very focused. She said, I'm not falling for that question. But the year is ending, and I want to hear, is there one thing that you've like done, but you are like, man, I wish I could, like do this and actually be done with it in 2024? Because I have a lot of those, but I want to hear your own perspective.
Oh man, wanting to be done with it. There is a theme of fear, I feel like, as people are talking about right now, and, even having some own things, but I would love to kind of see some of that fear left behind.
Oh, yeah.
And that 2025 is more confidence, more empowerment, and just more of that, because there is always going to be something that we're afraid of, always, because we're not in control of everything. But how do we live to where joy supersedes the fear? Right.
No, mine, I actually had this morning I had a conversation with like my former advisor. She called me and wanted to grab coffee. And then, we were talking and I caught myself doing something that I want to leave behind in 2024, whatever that means, which is being in a rush to just launch something really quickly. And then she's like, how long have you been working on this? I was like, oh, it's been a few days of just doing a quick overview. This is something completely different, by the way. And then she's like, maybe you should like sit on it and think about it, because you have a lot going on. I was like, oh, free advice, cool. But, so for me personally, it's just being able to just be, like enjoying the process, because that's something that I tend to forget, because I'm in the process. So much of my, like journey, I'm always in the process, building, doing something, that I forget to, like enjoy it.
Yeah.
And by the time that I actually finish it, and I realized I didn't enjoy this at all. And then the joy is just like sips away. And then I look around, everyone else is like having a great time. And I'm just like, I don't even remember how we got here. So I'm hoping, moving forward, I'll be able to be more like intentional of like, I'm going to enjoy the process.
Yeah.
I'm going to be present in things that I do now.
Yeah.
And my son is also getting bigger now. So he's having so many questions. Just the other day, he's like, Daddy, am I black? Because, he's a mixed kid.
Okay.
So it was like, I need to be more like wise now to be, I literally opened my phone. I was like, how do you answer a 6-year-old? And then he asked me questions about the devil. And I was like, whoa, I was not ready for this. But yeah, so moving forward, I want to be able to be just enjoying the process, be present, and actually remembering what happened and why am I doing that. That's a big part.
Yeah, that's good. I like
but
that.
Yeah, so I know it's the holiday and a lot of people are about to spend quite a lot of time with their families. But first, are you having the holiday in Kansas City, or are you traveling anywhere?
Yeah, we'll be here for Christmas, and then we're actually going to the Mizzou Bowl game right before the New Year, so that'll be fun.
Wait, I don't know what that is.
Okay, so it's the Mizzou final football game, and it's their championship game that they made it to in their particular bowls in Nashville this year. Are
they playing against a different school, or is it like just a school?
I should know who they're playing because I bought the tickets, but I don't recall.
Yeah, no one cares. Like every Chiefs game, I have no idea who they're playing until when I'm watching the game. But the college games is like, people are so passionate about it. I don't follow it, so I don't watch it at all. But what exactly is? I know we're not talking about this, but I feel like I should know this. Is this the first time that they're going to the championship, or is it a common thing? So
there are several different bowl games, and I'm not the person, because I'm not an expert in this, but it's based on like where they fell in the standings is which level of bowl game you get. So it's not the top, but it's still cool because it's a championship bowl game. So that's good.
Yeah, I mean, and you are going to be going there with your kids and your husband.
Yeah,
and
we're all
that.
Going. Yeah.
Wow, that sounds fun.
Yeah,
well,
it should be good.
Good for you, because I'm supposed to go hang out with my family, and I'm still thinking about it. So what tips do you have for like navigating just a holiday? Going through a holiday. We just went through a very traumatic, like election year, and people are still very like in that like defensive mode. Just talking to people, it's like, it's not easy nowadays. So what would you say to someone going into the holiday and then having all these fears, just like you mentioned earlier?
Yeah. One thing is plan ahead. So kind of have your exit strategies in your head of how you might exit a conversation, how you might exit a room, how you might all of a sudden need to go on a post-meal walk, but plan ahead and think about what boundaries do I need for myself? Do I need to engage in this difficult conversation? Maybe not.
Right.
And do I need to listen to someone go on the third rant? Maybe not. And so it's just plan ahead and think, okay, here's what I do for plan A, plan B, plan C, and utilize your exit strategies. Like I'm huge on that. I love boundaries. Let's go.
Speaking of like exit strategies in like an African household, it doesn't exist.
Okay.
It's like, we have so many, some uncles that I'm not very much connected to, but they're so entitled. It's like when they talk to you, they demand you to listen and you're not allowed to talk back. They have that mentality. So to me, I just don't go. But this year, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go. But as the day gets, I close to the holiday, I'm just like, actually, I'm not going to go. Because I know how they are. It's really hard to like establish boundaries with them. Do you have any tips for that situation? I feel like I'm right to saying I don't want to go.
And can you use something as simple as like, I'm going to go refill my drink or I'm going to go to the bathroom to where they may not put together that you're exiting the conversation. Oh, and then you conveniently don't come back.
Right. And just maybe just go outside, go for a walk as you suggest.
Or you get, sucked into a different conversation with someone else. But, and then if they notice that you're not there and they find you in a different room talking to someone, they can see like, oh yeah, he's just talking to someone else now because he probably got pulled into a conversation, but it doesn't look obvious.
Okay. Well, that's doable. That's something that I do all the time. I actually intentionally tell them, oh, I'm going to go use the restroom. And I go sit in the restroom doing nothing on my phone and I'll be there for hours until someone calls me, I'm like, oh, I'm coming. I'll be there in a bit. They're like, he spent a lot of time in the bathroom. I'm just like, it's my comfort place. But yeah, so I used to do something, every January, just going into 2024, which I don't do anymore because number one, is very expensive. And number two, it's usually very cold. It is an outside thing. But it's called a T-Rex walk where we'll have a bunch of people wearing a T-Rex costume. And the idea is to just kind of help people cope as they come into 2025. Okay. Because the rate of suicide is very high during January. It's like the highest. Almost 170 people, lose their battles with suicide. And usually it's linked to like holiday stress, coming out of that, going to 2025, or like January and then realizing that, I can't even meet all of these, things that I've created for myself, and so I, do the T-Rex walk as a way to just help people cope. Even though it was so much fun, I would have people show up and just, the fact that they have to wear a costume and look very silly, walk around, it takes them out of that. But I feel like that's a temporal thing because at the end of the day, they have to go home. But as a therapist, what's something that you would tell people that are going to 2025 with so much expectations, and then knowing that, hey, this is just another day. What would you say to them as far as, advice or like, stress, and then how to manage that?
Yeah, I like, instead of doing resolutions, I like the idea of, have you heard of the theme, one word theme for your year? Have you heard of that? No. So instead of doing like a full scale, SMART goals of here's what I'm going to accomplish in the next year, it's you kind of sit with a list of words that are linked to values or themes and see which one most resonates. And then for your year, that's like your new theme. And so then when you make decisions or when you make plans, that word is top of mind. And so if something doesn't align with that word, then you can say no. Or if it does, then it's easier to say yes. And so I really like that because it funnels you and it helps take you in a direction, but it's not so soul focused on, A, B, and C. And if you don't make A, B, and C, then have shame for it or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, it is very rough. I guess for me, based on what I shared earlier, my team would be just being like intentional. And enjoying the moment. Now I'm adding more words to it. Would that be something that you would consider as going into the year with one word?
Oh, for sure. Okay, yeah. And perfect. I would say, based on what you shared too, like even present could be another word that you think about.
I like present.
And you could even search up the different words related to that and see if there's a different one that kind of connects with you a bit more.
Oh, I like that. You know what? I'm going to make a hat that just says present.
Oh, there you go.
And just like wear that for, that'll be my hat for 2025.
There you go.
And then I can have a cool story like what you just said.
Yeah.
And what's your, one word that you're going into for 2025?
So I haven't discovered my word yet. I typically spend the last few days of the year kind of sitting on some words. And so we're not there yet. So I haven't allowed myself to sit with any new words for next year.
Right.
The past few years has been kind of a theme of like blossoming, blooming, stuff like that. And so I feel like it's not that. But yeah, I don't have my list yet. That's my intention for next week.
Right.
Or the end of next week.
Yeah. I feel like everything that people went through 2025, most people's words are going to be survive, because 2024, this year was just too much. Like, oh my God, it was insane. But I know it's just another day of 2025, but I feel like having that, like, all right, I'm going to leave all this behind. Maybe not leave it behind, but actually work through it.
Yes.
Let it go and then move forward. I do want to do kind of like a quick exercise as like, if you were to give like 5 to 10 words that people can, take into 2025 as a therapist, what would you recommend? If someone is like stuck at like, they cannot come up with a word, what words would you recommend for them? I know it's super on the spot.
Yeah.
But yes.
I mean, think about like kind of emotions that may not seem like you've experienced in a while, or like the more like gratitude or intentionality, courage, joy. One of the words that I used one year was dauntless. I don't know if you remember that movie series that came through Divergent, and one of the sections of that was called Dauntless, and that was when I made like a big business leap. And so it means kind of like putting yourself out there and just stepping out in faith. But like, the words, there's so many.
So many words.
But it's like, do like a reflective exercise in your life and think, what lights me up? And if I can think about what lights me up, what emotion or value pops into mind that drives you in that direction. And that's kind of where I would tell people, because I can list a whole bunch of nice words, but it's ones that resonates with the one who's thinking of it that I think would connect the most. Yeah.
Okay. I like that. Again, I think mine will be, number one, present. Am I allowed to have a second one? Present.
You can, but the idea is that you just take it to one.
No, the second one is a backup to keep going. It's like, be present but survive.
Okay. But think about though, if you're more present in your moments, then you're not just surviving. You might even be thriving.
Thriving. Okay, thriving. I like that. Just thrive this year. Now I'm gonna have two hats. One will be thrive. The other one will be not survive. Present. How did I forget that? That just been literally just talked about. You see, I'm like still dealing with the trauma of like 2024. I just had a lot of like personal stuff just kept happening on the family side, and I'm just like, oh my God, can you guys just take a breather, please? But yeah, so I do want to go back to the holiday again. And I want to know this maybe for myself and anyone else who's listening. And let's say, you were on the driveway to your family and you have to get out, on the 24th, you have to spend there 3 days with your family. What tips would you give to someone to have kind of like a guardrail or just to establish some kind of mentality going into the family?
Yeah. So I would make sure that they're focused on what good can I see here? Like if it's filled with, past trauma or unhealthy boundaries or, anything that stirs up stuff, you're going to be aware of that going into it.
Right.
And so what do you need during those 3 days? Like, do you know what time you need to go to bed? Do you know if there's going to be any healthy food available or if it's all going to be kind of comfort food? Yeah. So it's like, can you come with like some already cut up chicken breast that's cooked and you can use it as a snack or whatever. But like, what do you need to be okay over the 3 days? Like if you have to be there, like again, bedtime, what amount of food, what amount of physical activity. And then are there people in that area that you can pop out and go see who maybe you haven't seen in a while that is more fulfilling. Right. And it's like, again, thinking about planning ahead and knowing when am I going to leave and what good though can I discover here?
Right. Wow. Oh, well, thank you for that. And this is for me, but if you're listening, and, feel free to take the same tip. And then like last week, I had a friend that I was talking to, and then she shared that, because, I was basically just yapping about how I'm not looking forward to the holiday. And then she shared that she's looking forward to the holiday, but then she's not looking forward, forward to the grief of the holiday. Because, she lost her dad, the whole, he was a pillar of the family. And so she is not looking forward to that, but she's looking forward to spending time with the family. And across the U.S., I feel like that's a very common theme right now, where people are going to the holiday. You look around, there's someone missing that used to be there, used to be a foundation, or it could be a crazy uncle that will always just keep the conversation going.
Yeah.
But now they're not there. Like, how do you navigate that as someone going into that and knowing that in the back of your head? And be like, oh, wow, okay, maybe I probably don't even want to go anymore. But you want to go, but you're thinking about grief. It's something that the whole family went through.
My encouragement is don't avoid it. You have to lean into it and allow both the sadness and the missing can coexist with, we can still bring their memory as part of this tradition. So like in my family, we'll make desserts that my mom used to make or that were her favorite, and we're very conscious of it. Right. And then like, again, when we're having conversations, we bring them into the conversation, and it's not something that we have to avoid, because if people are there, they're thinking about it. And sometimes our thought is, well, I don't want to, make them remember, or it'll make them upset. But it's like, don't ignore it, because it's already there. And the more that you allow it, the more that it normalizes. Like, people are going to die. People are going to be missing from the table, and that sucks. And there's grief attached to it, but also like there's no life in ignoring that and avoiding it. Right. And so it's allow the emotions to coexist together, because they can. Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's a beautiful thing, because I personally have lost so many people in my life to a point that it's just like, whoever is up there, like, calm down, bro. And even, I have different friend groups where I've lost like one person from different friend groups. And I noticed that over time, we slowly just like dissolve, because it's like whenever we meet, it gets so heavy because we don't really know how to deal with it. But like in a family's, like scenario, how do you, maybe you want to have that conversation. How do you even go about starting that? And then wanting to talk to someone across the table and be like, remember when XYZ used to say something? Because I believe, like humanizing the people that pass, by saying their names and just saying their stories. But sometimes I know that it can be difficult for people to even wanting to have that conversation, because they're associated with like the loss.
Yeah. I think a great way, just like you described, is to think about a memory that has like fun or laughter attached to it. Like just over Thanksgiving on my family, we mentioned that my mom didn't like cherry pie, but she liked cherry turnovers. And I'm like, why don't we just make her a pie and turn it over and see if she notices the difference? And like everybody laughed. And like it's literally made out of the same things, but it's funny. Yeah. And so, but when we were able to cross that bridge of like, oh, we can say her name and like, we're not going to break down because it's okay. And that like when you first go in with a memory, it does make it a little bit easier. And then if there's more serious conversation later, you could say like, yeah, her presence is missed, or whomever. But I think it's just going there and doing it. There's not a right or wrong way, but I think an easier way is to start with a memory that can bring joy and laughter.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like a very beautiful balance if you can accept both sides, the heavy emotions and the fun memories, and you just trying to balance between those two. And hopefully everyone across the table is open to it. But what if you open the conversation and everyone else is not open to it? How do you go about that?
If they shut it down, they shut it down. And then you know that it's maybe not an emotionally safe place for you to talk about it. So I would find people who won't shut it down. Right. Whether that's not family, it might not be. But I believe that it's healthier to bring the names to the table. And if they won't allow it, then go somewhere that will. Right.
Or just take a walk, like you said earlier. Actually, I'm going to go to the restroom real quick. Or just take a walk and just go around the block. Maybe call someone. And then, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the 5-for-5 connection. It's a a thing that, the Surgeon General, started doing at the beginning of the year. Basically, the idea behind it is like, it's a challenge where, it helps people connect with individuals in their life that they probably haven't spoken to in years leading up to a holiday. So for example, let's say today you go home and you pick up your phone and you look and just let your mind just kind of go on a journey and then think of one person that you haven't talked to in a very long time and just text them and say, hey, I know it's been a while. I thought of you today and I just wanted to send you a quick message and I hope you're doing well. And you do that 5 times to 5 different people that that you probably are going to see them this holiday, or they may be reaching out to you. You may be on the same table, and it just helps kind of like open the conversation before leading up to the holiday. And it's something that I've been doing, but I have African uncles, they don't respond. And they're like, why are you sending me? I had one of my uncles, he said, what do you want? I was like, I can never win. But yeah, what do you think about that approach going into the holiday and, establishing the connection first before showing up?
I mean, yeah, I think it's beautiful. I think, think about what it's like to be on the receiving end of that, right? If someone random reaches out to you, it's nice. And so I think that stirs something for you. I think as long as you're not going in with the intention of what am I going to get in return? It's more about, I want them to know I was thinking about them and this is for them, but it also feels good for me. But just recognizing that if they don't respond, it might not be about you. Okay. It might be about whatever else is going on for them. And that, but the nicety is what it brings for you. Right. And hoping that it blesses them in some way.
Yeah, absolutely. No, yeah. For me, I'm just like, hey, y'all better respond. but again, to my point, going into 2025 with being present, enjoying the moments, and I guess I can add another one. It's not about you, Abraham. But and we, this is going to be a very short episode, and we're getting to the end of it, and I want to know, I want to go back to like intentions. What advice do you have someone who is going to 2024? How do they establish healthy intentions going to 2025 now?
Yeah, I think one thing about January that I think we all, or not all of us, but some people can get into the habit of is it goes from one extreme to the other. So in December, we're all about, let's have a good time. Let's eat all the things. Let's drink all the things. And then January comes around and we're like, let's go dry. We have to get rid of all things that have any good flavor. We have to like kill ourselves in the gym or whatever, right? But it's like, you're not going to succeed when you go from one extreme to the other. And then people get discouraged when they don't see immediate gratification within 10 days of doing a new habit. And it's like, don't go so extreme. Like they're probably all in good intentions with what they want to change, but smaller steps, more realistic expectations, and recognize that it's a lifestyle, not something you're going to destroy in a 30-day time frame. Right. And so I guess just to kind of summarize that is when you go into January, have your intentions, but don't have them be astronomical to where by day 10, you're feeling more discouraged and disappointed than anything else. And then you just slide right back into what the rest of your year is going to look like.
I like that. So basically, don't have the expectation that you're going to space by the end of January 30. Yes, that's out of this world. You see what I did there? Okay, cool. And I do have some closing questions, which it's basically centered around all the discussions that we've had this 2024. We've talked about it a lot since February all the way to today. And I want to know, how's your spirit so far after everything we've talked about, and now 2024 at the last inning, about to have a touchdown. I to be honest, I'm tired. I hear you. I am ready for a couple of weeks to relax and just kind of embrace the end of this year. I can feel a little bit of burnout just because it's been a tough month, but I'm also aware of it, and I'm, that's huge. So, it's been overall though, a pretty good year. There's been a lot of, like I said in the beginning, great growth. And I could tell that we're coming to the end of the year and moving into a new one. And I don't want to take some of that same energy of where I feel like, oh gosh, man, the days feel long and the energy feels depleted.
And so I am going to take, and I am a big fan of, like I said, of the word. And so the end of next week, I'm going to discover my word and allow it to surface. And then I want to take that new energy going into the new year, and take that time off to where I can refuel and I can feel like my tank is overflowing and not depleted. But I do feel tired.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Well, and I thank you for that, because I people, see a therapist and they always assume, they're this machine, they're there to listen to me. But I love the fact that you like humanize being a therapist. It's at the end, it's the end of the year. It's been a long, I actually almost cursed, but I hold myself. It's been a long year. And I hope, this holiday, you can have enough time to rest, like recharge, maybe have more of the hair, color that your daughter put on your hair.
Yeah.
But yeah, and in closing, this will be the final question, and then I can let you finish your water and maybe take a breather. In the spirit of the holiday, as we're going into, hanging out with the family, what's one thing that's harder, choosing what to eat or what to watch on Netflix?
Probably what to watch.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Because there's just so many good Christmas movies.
No, yeah, same here. I was just telling my partner yesterday, I was like, I can't wait for the day that I don't have to think about what to eat. And then also what to watch. Because those are two things that I spend so much time on. Because, especially someone who like is in the filmmaking space, I just found myself just like criticizing so many films. And then but then when it comes to food, back when I was in college, I used to say that I wish food was not a thing. Our body would just consume energy from the sun. So I can't wait for the day that I don't have to think about food, because she was like, what do you want? Kind of like social media, those couples, they say, like girls are always saying like they don't know what they want. I'm the girl. I'm always like, I don't know what I want to eat. I know I'm hungry, but then I want to eat something healthy, and then I can't make up my mind. So
that goes back to, it sounds like you have that decision fatigue, right?
I know. Yeah. Funny thing, I actually just referenced that this morning because they gave me the menu for breakfast, and I was like, I'm having decision fatigue. So that's funny you like brought that up. Yeah, it's like one of my biggest first world problems. I cannot decide what to eat. So, but yeah, I'm excited for 2024 to conclude. Heard that click. Yeah. And again, I'm very excited for 2024 to conclude, and I do look forward to 2025. My son is 6 years old now. He's more fun now. Always been fun. And he's loving like football for now. I'm hoping he will pick up soccer, because football is very scary. These past 3 games have been intense.
Oh man. Yeah.
I was like, oh my God. Okay, cool. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to 2025, and yeah, I will probably do an episode here in a week just to make a new announcement. But again, if you're listening to this, thank you for taking time and just sending me your feedback, listening to this podcast. I genuinely appreciate it, and I always get so shocked and happy when someone says, "Hey, I listened to this episode." I was like, "Oh my God, you guys listen? You have no idea what that means." So many podcasts out there.
Yeah,
but yeah. Cool. So again, thank you guys for taking time to listen. I'm not sure if you have anything to say to the people that are.
Yeah, I mean, I think just going along on this journey has been such a ride, and it's been fun, and I again feel honored to have a voice and that people are listening, and that's awesome. So yeah, if you have requests of anything. Let Abraham know. No,
absolutely. But yeah, and I forgot my closing because it's been a long year. I apologize, but I hope you have a lovely holiday. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.